and it's been my honor to just watch this man really develop. He has an amazing talk. You're gonna fall in love with his heart. You're gonna get to know him as a human being. That's why I love having him here. And we very rarely invite somebody back a second time, but we invited him back because people request him. They want to see him. They want to be around him. If you've ever been to the beach house for events, you'll see him there. We spend as much time as we possibly can, and I just absolutely love him. And he's my brother, he's my friend, he's my colleague, he's my mentor, Mr. Glenn Morshower.
Everybody now is turning around.
Get comfortable.
Theater presentation. Here we go. Hey, I'm excited to be here. Do you know how many plans I made for tonight? Zero. Zero. I'm not kidding. I actually wrote something down over here about an hour ago because I decided that since I'm best known for my appearances, Aaron Pierce. Hey, Craig, how are you? So good to see you. You know, I may, because I try to keep it spontaneous, I may just want to do like the whole talk from your lap. Because I'm seriously in you guys' lap tonight. And you know what? Here's the deal. I'm going to stay here a little longer. Are you getting aroused? No, but the deal is, I didn't plan even that, but I want you to notice something. I really didn't. What I want you to notice is that the magic of life and the sweet spot of life is located by being available for that. Actually, just be available for whatever shows up and feels correct in the moment. I have a great life, not to be confused with good, and certainly not to be confused with average, but I'm not being boastful about that. I'm simply announcing news. And it happens to be the truth. Or as we said in Texas, a friggin' truth. That's what that was right there. And I was born and raised in Texas, and pretty much everybody in my family sounds just like this. Even my mother, only her voice is a little deeper than this. I'm going to give you a little backstory to my life and share a story with you that will just serve as kind of a groundbreaker. So, because I've got a lot of turf to cover in a short period of time, my share is truly from the heart. It is not memorized. There's certain things I like to talk about because I'm really an enthusiast of ideas and heartfelt communication. But years ago, this program, which I've called the Extra Mile, let me just explain what that means. And tonight really isn't a full presentation of the Extra Mile. This is just a little sampling. So I'm going to have a little foreplay with you this evening. Fair enough? Okay? And I don't know how it's going to start, I don't know how it's going to end, and I don't need to. See, that's the beauty of it. I don't need to supervise it. It's called allowing. And I spent a lot of years teaching improv comedy, which is so strange, because all my buddies back in Texas are wondering, how did you wind up with this career as such a hard ass? Right? I'm always bossing somebody around, commanding troops. I've played more military personnel than any actor in history. That would be living or dead. It's an IMDb fact, and a trivia fact that I'm actually very proud of. And people ask often, do you mind being typecast? No, I mind being not cast. So typecast is not a problem. Mama likes $100 bills. She does. When she reaches in my britches, she likes to bump into Ben Franklin. And as long as I'm working, then the Franklins are there and life is good. We broke. Well, okay. Let me just go back a little bit. I decided that I wasn't going to make any intention tonight to be funny. Funny is kind of a natural state of mine, but I'm in a very, very different kind of mood tonight. I'm in a really good mood. A lot of things have been going on recently, and anyone who knows me on Facebook knows that right now, by all rights, I shouldn't even know where I am. I travel so much, and I just got in from Phoenix yesterday. I was speaking to a group of helicopter pilots and mechanics. So now I know I can speak to anybody. That really was it. If I can do this. I walked into a machine shop that smelled of burned oil. And that was going to be my sacred ground for the next 2 hours. And I thought, good. And I'm looking over at some of these good old boys there like this. Some of them, I'm not making fun, but they're like, give me some helicopter parts. Let me do something. It was like, awesome. This is just great. And it went really, really well. But I want to say this. I want to admit something to all of you. I am deeply in love with life. Life is my bud. Life's my friend. And it has been for a very, very long time. And I attribute the primary reason for that to be the fact that when I was about 14 years old, I began cultivating a relationship with what I refer to as the whisper, which I'll put it in very simple terms without taking you to church, mosques, ashrams, or synagogues. It's the voice of God. That's it. It's the voice of God. And it doesn't even matter whether you believe in it. It's kind of like me choosing to one day wake up and decide, I don't so much believe in gravity anymore. Okay, well, certainly I have that option. But what I notice is that gravity is a law. It is not a theory. It's a law. And laws mean you don't mess with them. And they tweak. Oh, God. They treat all people equally. All people. In other words, the law of gravity, if you are a very wealthy CEO or a homeless person, if both parties step off of a building at the same time, they travel to the ground at the exact same rate in response to the law of gravity. So here's the deal, my dear friends. Many of you I'm seeing again. I remember Johnny Carson years ago when he came to host the Oscars. Just popped into my head, so I'm just going to share it. He came to host the Oscars one night. How many of you are old enough to even remember Johnny Carson? Thank God. I made a reference to Ed McMahon to a group about 2 years ago. There were 4 people out of 125. 4 who knew who Ed McMahon was. I'm not making that number up. I was astounded. 4 in 125. I immediately, the next talk I did, changed that reference to Ryan Seacrest. because I said Ed McMahon, it's not like Ed McMahon is going to show up on your friggin' front porch and offer you your new life on a silver platter. And it just went nowhere. And then I did. I changed it to Ryan Seacrest. Okay. So I have a wide open and available heart, and I have a nonlinear mind, and I am unafraid, and I don't believe in making a lot of plans. I believe at most we should plan about 20% of our lives. That's just my opinion, okay? I'm not trying to give you a manual to follow, but I got to tell you, it works really, really well to be available for the moment. For any of you who ever ask me for lunch, ask me the night before. Do not ask me, 3 weeks from today on the 21st. Are you kidding me? In my world, 3 weeks from now is an eternity. It just is. So back on this being in love with life thing. I wake up in the morning with an elevated, I said this in these words recently, and someone reacted so powerfully to it that I thought, I'll view that as feedback. That bears repeating. And what I said was, I wake up each day with an elevated regard for life. An elevated regard. And, I'll take it a step further, an elevated regard for what this is, which is it is not another day. And maybe that's why I'm having such a good time being here, is because I don't have another day, I have a new day. They're not the same thing. They're really not the same thing at all, friends. This is like a whole different language when you're available for something brand spanking new that may on many levels have nothing to do with the days, weeks, months, years that preceded it. As of this day today, I am 19,837 days old. How many of you know your day count and your age? Look it up. It's worth knowing. That's impressive. It's impressive to me that on January 25th, I will be 20,000 days old. January 25th, 2014. That rocks. I choose to get impressed by things. Here's a random thought.
17,886.
What?
17,886.
Is what you're at?
Yes.
17,257.
Yeah, that's yours?
That's mine.
Okay, so I quoted mine accurately. Mine is 19,837. 836, 837. That's right. So on the 25th of January, it'll be 20,000. Here's a couple of other pieces of math, as long as I'm rolling on the subject of math, here's a great thing to think about. How about the fact that since dinner last night, every heart in this room, since you're still here and you're breathing, every heart in this room has beaten 103,680 times. 103,680. That's at an average heart rate of 72 beats per minute times 24 hours equals 103,680. 103,680. That's a lot of ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom that is going entirely unsupervised. But it's not said as a joke. What I'm saying is, you ain't running that show. You're taking care of it, but we don't own this thing. We don't own the heart, we don't own the body, but we have a responsibility to be really good stewards to it. And since it's all connected, meaning this whole thing is connected, that means that how we show up here is how we show up. It's not just how we show up, well, here. And then I have the way I show up in my marriage. And then I have my work self and I go do that. That's how people go batshit crazy. It's the truth. I wrote a chapter in my book called The Gap recently. Closing in on finishing up my book now. But there are a few more chapters that still want to express themselves through. And The Gap references one of the reasons I was asked to do a talk on happiness 2 weeks ago in San Diego. And it occurred to me that I know a lot about happiness because my life is happy, and that I now, at age 54, can explain why I'm happy instead of just, well, I'm just lucky, I guess. I just happen to be happy. Well, I got a major head start by being born like most of you, not all, some of you have migrated here, but just for the record, being born in the United States of America, okay, huge advantage, but only that, just only huge. I mean, if you look at it as just a ball, right, a ball that you're indifferent toward, it's just this ball, and it happens to be bright blue, and they call it Earth. Those wacky humans, that's what they call it. And they call it their home for up to as much as 100 years. If you're lucky, you get triple digits. And then at the end of your life, your whole dance on this beautiful blue ball in the middle of space is summed up with a 1-inch long horizontal line called the dash. That was your life. There it was. You get a little inch on a little headstone. And right now what's really cool is that inch is in progress. With everyone in this room, what we all have in common is we are left side entries only. Meaning you have a birth date on the left side of the dash and nothing yet entered on the right side. Which means we're still rocking the dash. I'm just we're rocking the dash. And we're here to really rock it. So the question becomes, how alive are we? Now understand, I may say you, I may say me, but every you and me is we. It's really we because we all face the same scenario, which is really to try to unfold why it is we're even here. Like the big question, not why are we here tonight with Bob and Cindy and Next Level by Association, and may I make a comment on that, on ELBA. I had this thought today about what does it mean, Next Level by Association. Do I have enough passion?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to apologize if I seem somewhat meek. That was humor. So here's the deal. With regard to Next Level by Association, I think I'll go ahead and say this, I think some of you, I don't know what percentage, and I'm not referring to anyone specific, but I think some of you have the wrong idea about what that even means. Because in many ways you may represent a cross-section to what I deal with all the time, because I'm in really cool circles of people. I travel a lot. I'm around great people. 4 weeks ago, I'm just sharing news. It doesn't mean anything. Rest assured, there's no one who knows his poop stinks more than me. It's a huge piece of awareness. I was sharing this with someone earlier tonight. I was, right before dinner, which is one you want to be talking about. But I said, the whole idea is that how can we get asked all the time, how can you have fared so long in Hollywood and you've been married, good Lord, since the beginning of time. And how do you do this? Well, because I get that my poop stinks.
I mean, it doesn't, the fact that you've been on a TV series, okay, great. And your point would be what? Other than that you should feel extremely blessed. But beyond that, last time I checked, you were the same kid that grew up in Texas with cow teats in his hands. You know, and my cousin squirting me with one of them from like 15 feet away. Most of you probably have not been hit in the face with a fresh stream of cow's milk. I have. These things change who we are. Okay? Random thought, as long as I'm just queuing up random thoughts. Good to see you again. Very nice to see you. Pleasure. No, you're hiding out over there. So, you know, my mind moves really fast, and you can see this. I remember now that I opened a loop a moment ago referencing Johnny Carson. Then I distracted myself by talking about Ed McMahon, and then Mr. Ryan Seacrest, and now I got a brain that remembered where I was, so I'm going to go back and correct that.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Johnny Carson went out on stage at the Oscars years ago, and he said, wow, it's great to see a lot of old faces, see a lot of new faces. I see a lot of new faces on the old faces. Johnny Carson said that. Such a great, just a great random moment. All right, so what's most important? What's most important for me to say is I stay in ever-present gratitude because I'm really, I encourage people. Bob said how many people are here. I have the exact same thing to talk about, but I don't word it in that way, which doesn't make my way better or his better. They're just different. And I actually believe that in order to be effective in this world, you can't just wake up. You actually have to wake up twice. And I'm talking about every day. In other words, you open your eyes, but so does everybody else that makes it through the day. I mean, if you didn't pass away in your sleep, if you're here this morning, if that happened, and it appears to have happened to everyone here that you discovered you were here this morning, well, at some point in your day, and hopefully sooner than later, hopefully somewhere very early morning, you made a conscious decision to wake up from an already awakened state. Does that make sense? Yes. It's one thing to wake up from sleep, but now that you're awake, meaning you're no longer snoozing, now let's really get awake. So that you can look at someone and say, hey, brother, it's so good to see you again. I cherish your breath. Bob, I love you. And really be here and only here instead of making sure that you're staying in touch with the world. I wrote a chapter on that in my book. It's called Being Where You're Not, which is where so much of the texting is about. In other words, I can't be here because I'm busy texting, and then what's funny? You know, I'll see you in 20, and then they run off to where they said they'd see him in 20, and then they get there, and they can't be there.
Yes.
They get there, and they're doing it all over again. To the next person, the BBD, stands for bigger, better deal. Right? Always, ouch is right. Always on the scan for who might be more important, who might be bigger, who might be more significant. Well, doggone, I love that expression. Doggone. That's my Texan leaking out of it. I haven't lost my train of thought at all. I have way too much to talk about in one evening. I really do. In fact, this is a great time for me to sidebar, because I want to read. You're the recipients of a first time deal. I've never written down anything. I've been a speaker for 25 years. Been an actor paid to be an actor for 39 years. I actually wrote something down. This is not my talk. This is, since I was on the series 24, I thought I would write down 24 things that bolster life and enhance self-esteem. Yeah, I just wrote these down. Now, by the way, understand, don't go looking for, geez, well, I didn't hear you say that. I didn't go over these. I just wrote them as they showed up. In other words, if I went back over, I'd go, well, you know, you could probably put let's move that to number 10. So they're not in order of importance, and I'm sure there are at least 50, I'll just make that number up, 50 other things that I could read to you. I don't even want to discuss these because it'll take too long. And I've got other things I want to get into. But may I just read these, and you'll really actually know me when I'm done reading. 1, start every day in total gratitude. 2, drink water, a lot of it, and eat well. 3, expect good things. I want to comment on that one because I find that most people don't. You know how we know this? Because we were taught from the time we were knee-high to a grasshopper that it's too good to be true. What does that mean? It's too good to be true. What? And more than one person sanctioned that? I mean, it went to the committee, you know, that committee that gave us life teachings to pass down to future generations. And then everybody went, yeah, sounds good to me. Let's just pass that right on along. Okay, well, that's only lame. The next one, be generous. Next one, be punctual, leave early. Next one, be honest. Number 7, be fair. Number 8, these are not things I wish I did. These are things I wouldn't be telling you if I don't do them. I live my life. These are my codes. Number 8, live by the golden rule and listen to the whisper. Now, I've rewritten the golden rule. Now, right there you're saying, oh, so we're also learning that you're arrogant this evening. No, I'm just bold. And you know what? We can't accept that we've reached the top when more is possibly available. If you think about that, we wouldn't have television because they would have stopped at the radio. And once we had television, they would have stopped at black and white. And then once we had VCRs, they would have stopped at the Betamax. How many of you remember Betamax? Right? And then it went to VHS, and now it's at DVD, and now you got texting and tweeting, and I mean, you know, the point is there's no end. There's always something new. Well, I even believe, yes I do, and you can quote me on this, that there is something that was able to be refined about the golden rule, and I'm going to share it with you. I don't have this written down because it came out of my heart. And that is that the golden rule, state it with me. Just state it with me. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, here's the problem with that. There's actually a problem with the golden rule, and the problem is that that person that you're being fair to, kind to, loving to, generous to, whatever, they may never have an opportunity to return that investment. For example, if I fly to a speaking gig in Nome, Alaska, I've been to 49 of the 50 states, and as of 2 weeks from today, I will be able to tell you that I have visited all 50 states. Because less than 2 weeks from now, my wife and I are going to North Dakota for no reason whatsoever. That's the one I have been to. My apologies if anyone here is from North Dakota, but yours was the last state. Somehow I managed to get to friggin' Alaska before I got to North Dakota. But that's the 50th remaining state, and I've got a speaking engagement in St. George, Utah. Then I'm teaching actors up in Salt Lake City in early September, and we're going right from there to South Dakota. We've been to Rushmore twice. I don't know why we didn't catch North Dakota then, but we're going to do it this time. And we'll probably have sex. Random thought. No, really, random thought. I'll bet you that happens in North Dakota. How do you go to the 50th state and not indoctrinate, not celebrate? And it's one of my favorite ways to celebrate. And if you think it's got to be clearly God's favorite way because He rewards it with life itself. Right? There's some more math to be impressed with. I said 103,680. That's the number of heart rates in a day, heartbeat. 33,000 of those happen while you're asleep. Oops. Oops. So those of you who think you have trust issues, no, you don't. You don't. No, seriously, you don't. You're in the habit of believing you do. You don't. For anyone in this room who's been fighting with alleged trust issues, did you look at the chair you're in? I'm guessing not. Yeah. I'll bet you just sat down in it and assumed that the manufacturer knew what they were doing when they built it. I'm serious. I didn't personally know the guy that flew my ass here yesterday on Southwest Airlines. I don't know if he's a drunk. I don't know anything about him except you're the pilot and I'm glad it's you and not me. That's all. You're a pilot, I'm not. Tell you what, you fly planes, I'll make movies. Right? So we all have our areas of expertise. Moving on. I said I wouldn't discuss this. You knew that would be a lie. Okay. Be fair. Live by the golden rule. I already said that. Okay, so here's the deal on the golden rule. No, it's important. It's important. So here's the deal. I like Wesley. Wesley's a likable cat, okay? But if Wesley lived in Nome, Alaska, and I were there and he were my waiter, I probably am not ever going to see Wesley Gu again. Probably. No, you wouldn't even get emotional about it. I'm saying we don't know each other. You happen to be our waiter, and I really loved your energy, and the best I could do is say, we really thank you for your time, Wesley. You're really a hell of a server, and leave you a generous tip, right? That's how we prove it. Because I got to tell you, I was a waiter in my early 20s. Verbal gratuities are worthless. For many of you who practice the art of verbal gratuities, just save that crap. Right? Because I've never seen rent be able to be paid with a verbal gratuity. Right? So cough up some cash. Probably one of the greatest ways to have cash in your life is be willing to part with some. Okay? So that was under number 4, which was be generous. So here's the rewritten golden rule. What if, just listen to me, don't judge it. And I want to ask you another thing. I didn't give you the ground rules. Here's some ground rules. If you want to get the most from my message, listen with a brand new set of ears because you're going to need them. Don't listen with yesterday's ears. You want a breakthrough. That's not just true for me. That's true in general. In other words, you don't know Bob. You think you do. What you know, listen, really listen to what I'm saying. What you know are previous versions of Bob. That technology has helped more people give up habits as a result of the extra mile, and I'm proud of it. Like, really proud of it. I get a lot of emails that talk about that did it, and they pinpoint the line. So here's the line I'm referencing. A gentleman in Houston. I do a whole thing about stopping smoking and saying yes to taking care of the trophy. And this man in Houston said, we had a little Q&A after the talks. It was a lengthy evening, and he raised his hand, and they sent the microphone over to him, and he said, Glenn, because back home my name's 2 syllables, Glenn. I didn't know it was a 1-syllable word until I got to California at age 18. But he said, Glenn, I have tried to quit smoking 25 times. And I failed all 25. He said, I'm not making these numbers up. I've got it all documented, the date I stopped, the day I started again. So I have failed 25 times. And I love your program, I love what you're talking about, but doggone, I need some help, man. And I'm wondering if there's something that you can say that will keep me from failing that 26th time. It's all true story. This is not drama, this is not a stage bit. I'm telling you what happened. And I had an instant knowing, which is what the whisper is. I instantly knew what to say to this guy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I need to look right at you because I'm offering you the butt view. I'm going to look right at you when I say this. Like I did him, I walked over and I said, it occurs to me that the reason you think you failed, the reason you're saying, Glenn, I have failed 25 times, is because you've created the expectation of failure because you've decided that it was you that failed. And he didn't get it. He just looked at me. I said, I'll take it a step further. 25 previous versions of you failed. That's not what you said. You said, I have failed. And what I want to tell you is, you haven't failed at anything. Previous versions of you. Now you answer my question. Do you wish to be a previous version of you with regard to this matter? Or would you like to be the you that you've never met? Which would be the you today, in this moment. Because we've been here in this theater for 3 hours. And you, that would be the you that I met, you haven't lit 1 cigarette. So the you I know is literally a non-smoker. Happens to be really valuable information. You know what I mean? In other words, quit pre-deciding who you are. You don't know you yet. It's a brand new you. And all sorts of possibilities exist for the new you unless you do what about 99% of all humans do. Sorry, but the numbers are really that high. It's really high. That people, that's why I said, a new day, not another day. People expect today to be a repeat of yesterday, and let me take it a step further, yesteryear.
Yes.
That's why incomes seldom change.
Yes.
They tend to look like last year's income. And last year's looked like the year before, and the relationships, although they change faces when they hop from partner to partner, they run into the strikingly similar dynamic. because the common equation is you, and saddled up in your personal U-Haul are all of your belief systems. Right? And that would be the belief system about basically what is your take on two things. One, life, and two, you. And it's interesting that your take on life comes as a result of your take on you. That's the pathway. That's why you hold the opinions about life that you do. Everything. I taught actors this for years, that everything at the end of the day, notice how utterly reliant I am on this piece of paper. When you get up every day, you're given an opportunity to prove to yourself who you are through the thoughts you think and the actions you take. And that's we, not me. We, me. I do it every day. And so, years ago, it was revealed by a wonderful, inspirational man who talked about the idea of life being divided in half between contribution and contamination. That's it. That's how simple it is. That everything you say, do, think, and feel can be divided in half, and that you will come up with one of those two. Like, for example, being here, contribution. I don't mean just for me, for everyone. This is not contamination. This is you contributing to your well-being and to the well-being of one another cohesively. This is what synergy looks like. Okay? And what works for me, what I experience, is that there is no separation. This is not, I'm not up here having an experience of us and them, or me and them. It's just us. That's all there is. There's us. And there's no such thing as a group anyway, because every one of you are here individuals having an individual experience. Like Joe, when I'm looking at you, I know I've got the whole group, but you're over there having Joe's experience of the group. So anyone, how many of you are speakers or speakers in training? Okay, awesome. If any of you ever experienced stage fright or anything like that, let me help you by just saying this. Well, I'll give you my big secret, but I'll end that at the end of the night. I'll give you that. This is pretty much all new, huh, Bob? Yeah, all new stuff. But instead of saying, oh my God, I'm speaking to 500 people, it's really possible, if you know the truth, that you should be as able, and that'll be the only time I should on you, that'll be it. You should be able to, if I look at Bill here, I should be able to have the same conversation here with him or Craig or Zeb or anyone else in this room. I should be able to have the same as I do one-on-one with you. Or two, or all of a sudden, because what it is it's a bunch of ones. Does that make sense? It's not 50, it's a bunch of ones. So in 3 weeks, I speak to 4,500 people at the Ontario Convention Center. What I'll be speaking to is 4,500 ones. And that's how you get rid of stage fright. You're talking to one person 4,500 times. No, but really, it's not a game. What I'm saying is that that's the actual way it really is. Because they're not over there having the experience as a group. They're over there feeling the same oneness that you feel when you're up here speaking. They're going, well, yeah, I'm part of a group, but I'm still experiencing it as me. I noticed Bob didn't ask me to feed him. I'm feeding my face. I'm not feeding Bob's face. While we were having dinner, Bob was having Bob's dinner. I wasn't having Wesley's dessert. You know, I wasn't having Cindy's whatever. Right? So, all right. So at some point I make a point. Which is exciting for me, whenever that breakthrough occurs. Okay, so wrapping up the golden rule, because I wanted to spend time on the golden rule, because it's worth it. I mean, come on, it's not called the aluminum rule, it's the golden rule. So listen very closely now. Pay close attention with your new ears and hear this, because I really don't give a damn if you don't hear anything else tonight. I prefer that you do, but this is the big one. This is the one it's one of two. Here's the big one. Do unto Wesley, not as I would have Wesley do unto me, because he's a waiter in Nome, Alaska, I believe we made it. Didn't we agree to that as the geography? So I may never see him again. So therefore the revised golden rule sounds like this. Do unto Wesley as you would have life itself do unto you. Not merely Wesley. Now that's really a golden rule. Because that way, if I show you love, I don't have to stand around with my arms crossed going, okay, when's it coming back? Come on. I showed you love. Supposed to be coming my way. No, it's not a one-way street. Come on, come on. That's if you're abiding by the old golden rule. But if you abide by the new one, what I can do is joyously contribute love, energy, kindness, generosity, whatever it is. I can be in the mode of givingness with you, uninterrupted, knowing that in doing so, I am literally, this is not figurative, this is literally, in doing so, if I come at you with love and only love, then I'm literally hurling a boomerang into the sky. And what do boomerangs do? That's all they know how to do. That's why they got the name boomerang. They come back. So what happens is, I'm nice and loving and caring to you. Do you understand that we live in a cosmos that doesn't care what you do, because what I did for you might come back via Joe. It doesn't have to come back from you. But you know what? I met you for about 30 seconds over there tonight, and here's what I already know about you. It would come back from you. Because I see it, I feel it, it's palpable, it's in the air, it's your nature. But I believe in a bigger law that means don't worry what she does or doesn't do. Care about what you do, Glenn. You come from love, cowboy. I showed you how to do it, now go do it. It's pretty clear why I play jealous. I'm just here barking at the troops. But I don't normally bark at my man about the subject of love. I ordinarily talk to him about going to war. As the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of NEST, which stands for the Non-Biological Extraterrestrial Species Treaty, you've never heard of it because it's top secret and we know damn well how to keep our mouths shut. That was a little visit from General Morshower in the Transformer films. Any of you ever go on their ride at Universal?
Sure.
Yeah.
Bob was one of the first. But do you know these people, I mean, again, talk about how big is your imagination. Why? Why would we ever build a ceiling? I get why we have ceilings in restaurants and houses, because maybe we don't want certain, like, hail balls hitting us in the head, or we don't want to be rained upon every day. But other than your house or apartment or restaurant, I really don't understand why any of us even hold the concept of a ceiling. Why would we do that? You know, I worked for Michael Bay on one film, and I don't have time to tell you the story, unfortunately, but a very unfortunate thing happened on that set, and I handled it like a gentleman. So you know what he did? And I mean, I could have flipped out. I had every right. Everything in the book says, you're supposed to get hot-headed. And I went, no, I'm too blessed to get hot-headed. I don't need to get hot-headed. Grateful for the employment. Yeah. Something really wrong happened. Handled it like a gentleman. You know what happened? He hired me again. Yeah. And I went back, and you know what happened? He hired me again. Up to 3 times. This is Michael Bay, director of Transformers. Michael Bay, who then called me after the first Transformers. It's now the 3rd film we've done together. I always hold up 4 whenever I say 3. But he called me and he said, dude. He's the only one in my life who refers to me as dude. Seriously, I'm beyond the dude age. Oh, on the subject of age, random thought about age. Random thought about age. Here we go. Some of you, I'm about to hit a sweet spot or maybe a painful spot. You know how you know when you're getting old, or certainly older? I'm not uptight about this. I happen to think what I'm about to say is damn funny. But it's when, if you're a man, okay, and I'm in the 50-plus club, when you're a man and you hear the following term, you hear them refer to you as young man for the 2nd time around. Am I making any sense? Let me explain. When we, us older guys, when we weren't actually young men, they called us young man. They did. Over here, young man. Come here, young man. Come on, come join me. Everything was young man this, young man that. You know what I noticed? It stopped at age 24. They didn't call you young man anymore. For the remainder of your 20s, all of your 30s, all of your 40s, and now that I'm in my 50s, they're calling me young man again. And it's clear to me why. It's because they predict that because they're having difficulty with the aging process, that you probably are as well, and that it will somehow make your day if they say, we have your table for you and your lovely lady, young man, if you'll come with me right here. And you realize, I haven't heard young man in 25 years, And I've heard it non-stop now for 4 frigging years. Am I making any sense? Okay, let me promise you what's going to happen. If you haven't heard it, you're going to not only hear it, you're probably going to hear it tomorrow. And if you're 55, someone's going to walk out and go, oh, I got those tickets for you, young man, right over here. And you'll go, shit. Okay, let me see where we are here. No, I'm good. No, I got through that whole idea. Okay, so number nine was listen to the whisper, right? Listen to the whisper. So really value those. And I said this to someone earlier this evening. This is just to keep me on track so that I don't do one of my 8-hour talks, okay? I can go, I really can. I can go indefinitely. But listen to the whisper. You know what? If I did, you would love it. I'm going to make you that promise. I'm going to make that. Now, we won't. I know you got an endless supply of videotape or whatever, but or I guess we shoot digital nowadays. But my point is this. I actually possess a confidence that I'm glad you said that because it gave me something to roll with here. I actually believe this. I believe that it, not me, not Glenn, I believe that it has something to say that could remain interesting to you for 6 straight hours.
Beautiful.
I actually believe that that's true.
Good.
And so that changes everything, although I'm not going to do 6 hours. So listen to the whisper simply means follow that voice. We all have it. We all have it. It's the voice that talks to you at an intersection for no apparent reason when all of a sudden you always go right. Because right is the way home. And something tonight says, Raise your hand if you have any idea what I'm talking about. Please don't be bashful. Actually raise your hand. I want to see the count of people who know what I mean about a whisper. Okay, so look at the evidence. I mean, really, look at the evidence. It's powerful. So now my question to humankind is, why, and now I'm actually going to say you and not me, because I'm not talking to me right now. I'm not talking to me at all. This one, I actually have wired. Why don't many of you, I won't say all because some of you probably do, why don't many of you pay attention to that voice? And not only hear it, but here's the big one, obey it. And you know what vetoes it? Do you know the 2 things within yourselves? Again, I'm pointing at you now because I don't. I am a whisper follower to the nth degree. But there are 2 things that I do not require of my whispers, and it has changed my life. So this is going to tie for maybe one of the top 2 things along with the golden rule. Well, actually, syrup, that will be number 3. You don't know where I'm going, but that'll come later. So here's the deal. What happens is the average person needs it to make sense. That's your first flaw, is that you're requiring it to make sense. And here's the worst offender. You need it to be convenient. I'll do it if it's convenient. What if you change that? What if you did not require it to make any sense whatsoever? It can be as otherworldly as it wishes. Bless you. It can be as otherworldly as it wishes, and it can inconvenience you. You start to book your ticket out of Burbank. Whisper says book it out of Ontario. But that's, no. Well, that's 6 of it, no. Well, Bob said, no. No. You were given instructions. Are you a follower or not? Plain and simple. There's no middle ground. You're a whisper follower or you're not. Now, I got news for you, and this will be very encouraging for those of you who want to shift gears and start following your whispers. What happens is when you follow them, you are granted access to all additional whispers. That's the risk you run by not being compliant when you are given a set of instructions from within. By all means, change that. And don't even wait till tomorrow. Change that tonight. Because you know what? It might be what gets your ass home. For real. Like, listen, I'm being drawn, I'm being led. I simply want to say yes to that which leads. You want to know where my careers come from? That's where. So help me God, because they are responding to energy. And when you walk into a room, they've already 90% of the time hired you as an actor before you ever open your mouth, based on energy. That's why when we walk into a room, we've all had it happen where you go into a room and you go, ooh, I do not belong here. By all means, leave. Start honoring that. If some alarm goes off, it's probably because some shit's getting ready to go down in the building and the future is pulsating to you. And yes, every one of you in this room are psychic, no exceptions. Everyone in this room is equally capable of receiving psychic information. All you have to do is decide consciously to grow that muscle. If you decide to grow the muscle, all of a sudden you'll go, wow, I'm kind of hip to some receptivity that I haven't been in years. And then things don't surprise you when they happen. I've had a bunch of them. I could have done the whole talk tonight on whispers alone. The whole talk on whispers alone. The best whisper of my life was November the 8th, 1976. And the short version of that is that I was told to call Carolyn. And that was the term. And I don't want to embellish this or make it sound like, you know, it had a John Williams orchestra score to it. You know, when it was, attention Kmart shoppers, you're now supposed to call Carolyn. That's not the way it went. It was simply a knowingness that went, call Carolyn. Oh, okay. And I knew which Carolyn it meant, and I acted on it, and I went and grabbed the Dallas phone book. How many of you remember the phone book? So I grabbed the Dallas phone book. I called her dad's number. He was still there in the book. He had a very unusual name. And this was the girl who used to live 2 doors down from me, and we used to play a fabulous game when we were children called I Will Show You Mine If You Show Me Yours. We did. It was harmless. It was non-sexual. We called it Doctor, but our name for it was I'll Show You Mine If You Show Me Yours. And so she answered. And I said, is Carolyn there? She said, this is Carolyn. Who's this? And when I told her, I didn't tell her who it was. I said, an old friend of yours. I haven't seen you in about 9 years. This was all pre-internet, like 1976. And I said, I haven't seen you in 9 years. I have red hair. And she went, oh my God, no way. Glenn? I said, yeah, it's me. She goes, oh, come on. Who told you? And I said, who told me what? She said, no, really, who told you that I've been looking for you? That's kind of what my soul did. I went, oh, inside. And I got chicken skin. She goes, Glenn, I went looking for you 2 weeks ago. Because we had a common friend, as it turns out, she had learned this, who thought I was going to be an event, and she came to that event purely to run into me. And I was not available. I was on the West Coast promoting a film. I was 17 at the time, and that was my first film that I did when I was 16. We won't even go to the story there, but anyway, that's what I was doing. And I was the only member of the cast who was not at that event. So isn't it interesting, my dear ones, that after 9 years of zero dealings with one another, both of us are seeking out the other one without the other one knowing about it. Okay, that's cool. That's what the whisper does. And you know what? This December, that gal and I will celebrate our 35th wedding anniversary. So what's beautiful, you see, is that we had an appointment. That's what was going on. We had an appointment to do life with one another. Okay, so here's the deal. You're probably going to hear that appointment if you're paying attention. If you're a whisper follower, when a big appointment comes in, you're not going to miss that. You will not miss it. But it may mean that you're going to have to be inconvenienced. Or you may have to get over your feelings or requirements, that's the better word, requirements that it make friggin' sense. It doesn't have to make sense. Just go, okay, I am now calling Carolyn. Here I go. And then you go do it. And what's beautiful is you become so obedient that it becomes a joyous habit, and now you realize a whole lot of beautiful things are occurring in what you used to regard as the peripheral world. Now they're your mainstream world. They happen right in front of you. The Transformers, are you serious? He goes, yeah, we're starting in 2 weeks. I don't have time to discuss it, Glenn. Are you in or out? I love you, man. I want to work together. I said, well, Michael, if you're not pulling my leg, the answer is yes, I'm in, but just tell me, does it in any way bother you that I died in the first one? So my point is that you can even, this is not said as a joke, I know it's worth laughing, but I laugh about it all the time, but you can even transcend what seems to make sense. In other words, miracles are coming your way that make no sense to the real world. He's going, I don't give a shit that you died in the first. I want you in the movie. So by doing it, he says, and I said, well, how are you going to get away with that? I mean, I'm not questioning it, I'm in. He goes, dude, we're going to change your rank. Why didn't I do that?
It's perfect.
And we're going to change your character name. Oh, that'll fool them. That'll fool them. Hadn't even considered that one as an option. So he says, if you home, I'm sending a script. And I got the script and I looked at it and I opened the tape and I immediately went, oh my God. I looked at it and the name of the character is General Morshower. Again, life, it's too good to be true. Here are those developments. They're so far up in what used to be regarded as untrueville, right? I mean, and here it is. Bam, have some of that, kid. Have some of that, kid. Here's some of this, kid. Oh, and here's a big wheelbarrow full of lots of activities. In case you didn't have any faith in me, now maybe you do. That's the way life works. So it's all responding to what you see as possible. And the things that aren't showing up in your life, I'm sorry to issue you some responsibility for this, but they're not showing up because on some deep, deep level, you actually don't believe that they are possible. Fact. You want things to change, you got to change you. And back to the whole next level by association thing. Many of you think, wrongly I might add, that it will be changed merely by the company you keep. And I got news for you. No, it will not. You know how many people come up and put their arm around me like this, want a photo? Because I'm a movie and TV guy. And that's supposed to mean something? It's utterly ridiculous. Now I'm going to give you proof of this, that what I'm saying is really true. Do you think my skin would get better if I went and stood next to a jar of vitamin E? So by merely associating with it, it doesn't get better. So the real association with, although Bob and I have never actually discussed this, the real association that I happen to believe he's after, because I know his heart, is the association with you and your highest available self-esteem, which changes life. Yeah. In other words, start associating with you. Like really with your heart, be its friend. The dance is brief, friends, and it's later than you think. That's a key thing to remember. Whatever you were thinking about doing, you might want to get on with it because it's later than you think. It's not a threat. If I appear to be angry, I'm not. I'm in love. I'm in love with this gift called life. But I also recognize that if we don't embrace it as the gift that it is, then we have a ho-hum existence, and then we die with the greatest tragedy possible to man, which is that you die having underlived your life. I don't think there's a worse scenario in life than having someone tuck your ass in a box when you didn't get your job done. And then we wrongly make the mistake of believing that our job has anything to do with our neighbor or our scorecard. Here, let's look at his scorecard. We don't compare scorecards. The only scorecard you have is a scorecard between you and your own potentiality. That's it. It has nothing to do with your neighbor. Who cares what your neighbor owns? Well, I got new designer jeans. Good for you. Who cares? I mean, congratulations. That's beautiful. I have millions of dollars in the bank. Who gives a shit? Doesn't matter. Those people get killed while texting too. Am I a little too hot-headed tonight? Is everyone okay with me? Can I just slow down? Because I was just having a real big conversation. I just ramped up. No, I'm ramped up. But the whole deal is that we have decided that I actually believe as human beings we are very flawed because we've got it all backward. We've got it all inverted. We value the things that are meaningless. And then we give no value or attention to the things that mean everything, i.e. following your whispers. So here's my strong hunch. My strong hunch is that how we show up in the world, we have an opinion about. And our opinion is we either like how we show up or we don't. And I'm not talking about what we profess to feel. That's what I wrote a chapter about that. It's called the presentational self. Presentational self. And you heard me reference the gap earlier. The gap. The gap references the distance. Listen very closely with your new ears. the distance between your presentational self and your actual self. When that gap is wide, you are unhappy. You've got this that you present to the world, right? But then I go home and beat my kids and shove cocaine up my nose. Okay? And I have to live with that. Now, for the record, I neither beat my kids nor shove cocaine up my nose. I'm giving you an example. I never hit any of my kids. And the people say, oh, spare the rod, spoil the child. Bullshit. Bullshit. I had the snot beaten out of me, and my kids didn't. And they grew up a lot happier than I did. That's an excuse to beat on children. And if you're someone who beats on children, I don't want to talk to you. I just want to say this. Stop that. You don't get a right to beat on people because you're bigger than them. Right? Kids are, in many ways, who we wish we could become. That's why when we're at a maternity ward and we look through the glass, you don't here's what you see. Every hospital in the world, you look through the glass, you see people going, look at your little hair. Nobody goes, look at that asshole. Nobody does that. Nobody looks and goes, that child's such a friggin' loser. They don't, because they're eyeballing pure potentiality, right or wrong.
Right.
Yes.
In fact, they're wishing they had that regard for themselves. Oh my God, well here's the deal, you can. You can, because God gave us the gift of imagination, where like that, bam, you can access it. You can access being a newborn with your imagination. And it's real. You know how we know? Oh, I'm on a roll now. Seriously, I'm on a roll now. You know, I'm going to give you proof of how powerful your imagination is. Specifically, the unconscious mind. Guys, this is you. You won't hear me give this talk in church, so those of you, you might want to listen closely. It's true. I've asked men for years, if you were to sit in a chair right here, Craig will make it you, I'm not going to pull you up here, but if Craig were to sit right here, and I said, Craig, with the most sensual thoughts, sexy thoughts you could have, could you bring yourself with thoughts alone in front of the crowd to orgasm? Okay, sitting here in a chair. Rule, cannot touch yourself, and no one in the group can touch you. Please don't be offended. I'm headed somewhere that's going to make progress. I know I'm a little abstract. What do you want? Here's my point, because there's a huge payoff here. Imagine this. We sit. I didn't mean that kind of huge payoff. Where were your minds? Here's my point. My point is that when we consciously try to get there, that's not going to happen with thought. Somewhere along the line, someone's going to need to caress you, touch you, bring you to a physical sensation which produces a physical result. And yet, isn't it interesting that in our sleep we can... No, I mean, that's like really worth thinking about. I can't speak because I've never been a woman, not in this lifetime. But men can wake up having had what we call a wet dream, right? You've had an orgasm, and it's not like you were touching yourself, but you were so entirely in that experience that the mind bought it as the actual truth to the extent that it produced a physical result. Why are you guys laughing? This happens to be genius. They're probably laughing because they had one last night. My point is, my point is this. My point is that we should start having an increased regard for a mind that can do that. In other words, when you're going to sleep, you're entering a world where that which is unreal is no longer unreal, and it becomes so real that it produces a physical result. That's why you should never minimize someone's dream. If someone wakes up having gone through a horrific experience, are you clear? Is everyone clear in the room that they actually went through it?
Yes.
Okay? It changes their heart rate. It produces increased perspiration. My point is, they didn't have a fantasy. You did. Your opinion about their dream is the fantasy. Theirs was real. So for those first precious few minutes, love them exactly the same. If they tell you, I just got raped, don't go, oh, honey, wait, here, have some coffee. It's a dream. You're minimizing them, and you're minimizing their experience. They actually went through it. Be tender with them. Gently bring them back into the day and the morning. I'm not talking out of my ass right now. I'm talking the truth. When people have an experience in the subconscious realm, understand that they have been in joyous hypnosis. So be kind to them as they come out. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I got to move fast to get through this. I'm not going to talk about these other ones until I hit like a big one. So these are just other ways to know who I am. Don't overplan your life. I talked about that. Don't smoke. Practice contribution instead of contamination. Don't complain, but instead take action. I just wrote all these down over there. It's not from a book, just my gut. Number 13, you know what number 13 is? Number 13 is don't fear the number 13. No, I'm serious. Let's just knock that off. How ridiculous is this that as grown people, no wonder people fear it. They won't even put it as a number in a friggin' elevator. How afraid is that? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pretend that the 13th floor is the 14th floor. Shh, don't tell anybody. Really? Are we that screwed up? That even in our elevators, shh, don't tell anybody. It's insane. And then I wrote right under that, don't fear the number 13 because it's unlucky to be superstitious. Thank you for getting that. Next one, principle over preference. That's a huge one. We're given this, we face it certainly several times a year, we all do. And it's interesting that when we make the commitment to preference, we get in trouble. But if we rely on principle, and we say, you know what, I don't care how good it feels, I don't care how much money it will allow me to make, if I'm doing it wrong, if I've got to go and do it wrong in order to profit, I can't co-sign that behavior. I just can't. So when we sign that boundary, we make that a clear line of demarcation where we say yes to principle over preference. Again, we are granted additional privileges in the room of possibility. That's when those other whispers show up. Because basically life is sitting there going, so who are we playing ball with? That's life talking to you. Who are we playing ball with today? Oh, I see. So preference over principle. Yeah, okay. Well, we have the kiddie section over here for that kind of behavior. Not a lot of extra privileges in that. And you know what's wrong? The reason people do that is because they wrongly believe that they can compartmentalize their lives. They actually believe that I can do this over here. Shh, nobody will know. I can do it behind closed doors and do whatever I want and then emerge like a magician, right? As though that never took place. The problem is it did take place, and here's the deal. If you have a dark corner of your life that you think you are keeping a secret, rest assured that the belief in that is as ridiculous as believing that there is such a thing called a designated peeing area in a swimming pool. That's how ridiculous that belief is. Right? Well, I'll just pee in the peeing section. So if you've got a peeing section in your life, you're really, really in need of some schooling on that subject. Because you're peeing in your own life and in the entirety of your life. Somebody led us away from the truth by telling us we can close the doors behind our darkness and seal it off from everywhere else. It doesn't work that way. If you feel the urge to say amen, I don't care.
Amen.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Amen. I'm not.
Macro over micro. Start caring about the big picture. Let love make an appearance in everything you do. Let love make an appearance. Be transparent. I'm actually going to hang on to these. These are okay, seeing them on paper. It's okay. Be transparent. Right? Because if you can't be transparent, now that doesn't mean you've got to go advertise all your business to everybody. You don't have to do that, right? If I had had sex with a dog, I don't need to advertise that tonight. No, I'm trying to make a point. My point is, if I'm in business with you, I can't be in business and have my hand behind my back. I just can't do it. I have to be here, hands open. I got nothing, Joe. I got nothing. There are no secrets here. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? No fear. Let's go, baby. Right? Golden rule, new golden rule, rewritten. Let's go. Let's dance. So be transparent. It happens to be huge. Enjoy getting older. Enjoy it. Here's a thought, you might as well, because it's happening anyway. It's not like your non-enjoyment of it keeps it from happening. So you might as well go ahead and enjoy it. And while you're at it, here's a thought, you might want to enjoy rain. Go ahead and enjoy rain, and then you won't be like the rest of the numbskulls who every time the clouds move in go, oh, it's a shitty day, it's raining. It's true. They bombard us with it on the media. It's an ugly day out there. Really? Last time I checked, it was beautiful, and it's raining. So it's about increasing our appreciation instead of taking the more traditional path and being resistant to all good things. All right. And then I got some fun stuff, and I'll close with fun stuff, and I'm going to ignore so many other things I could have talked about, but this seemed to be where my heart was tonight. So, enjoy being where you are. That's right up there with enjoying being older. In other words, you are getting older. We're all inching our way toward Earth School graduation. We are. Ceremony's coming. But meanwhile, to actually enjoy being where you are, quit trying to be where you're not. Enjoy being here. Tonight, you talked about it earlier tonight, Bob. Here's where it is. Then I got to get rid of this paper because I don't like looking down and reading things. Although I'm grateful for my eyes. God bless my eyes. Have ridiculous amounts of fun. Ridiculous fun. I return milk every few years to an auto parts store. They don't sell milk. They don't sell milk. They never have. And they probably never will. And yet, according to the receipt that was in my hand, because I had gone to Kinko's the night before for fun purposes only, and I took 2 receipts, one that said 2 quarts of oil and another one from Ralph's grocery store. I used the cheap auto parts logo on the top one, cut the receipt in half, put the Ralph's vitamin D milk underneath it, put them together with a piece of tape, and photocopied and cut out with scissors a brand new receipt that said cheap auto parts, 4817 Laurel Canyon Boulevard, vitamin D milk. And I walked in to mess with an employee and set it down on the counter and never said a word. I just put it on the counter and put a receipt there. Now right about now, many of you are saying, fella, you got a lot of free time on your hands. But I did. I put it there, and I watched this poor new employee just look at it and look at me, and then he saw the receipt, because he knows they don't sell milk. Until he saw the receipt. And it says that not only do they do it, but that it was bought yesterday. And I looked at him and I said, are you new here? And he said, yes. I had found this out, scouting report via the manager there. I said, are you new? And he goes, yes. It's all true. I'm a whack job. I love to have fun. So I just looked at him and I said, well, I don't want to confuse you if this is too big of a transaction. I don't even want a refund. I simply want to get another one. Wait, this gets better. I put the receipt back and walked over to aisle 5, where I had come in at 7 a.m. The store opens at 8. I had plotted this with the manager. He opened it at 7. I went in and put 5 other gallons of milk on a shelf. And then grabbed it and came up with him and just said, so if we're cool just with a straight swap, that'll be great. This man didn't know whether to shit or wind his wrist off. And I said, I'm gonna take off, but you know what, I do have this thought for you. You guys, probably these are going bad because you're not keeping it cold enough in here. And bam, I'm gone. Okay? When it rains, I can't tell you the story in the interest of time, but I'll just tell you this. As our kids were growing up, whenever it would rain substantially in the San Fernando Valley, we would take our kids fishing at the corner of Laurel Canyon and Magnolia. Actually fishing. Fishing rods, lures, hats, tackle boxes, chairs. There at the intersection, just working it. And the rest of humankind is going, fucking rain. Right? Everybody else is just nasty here. It's ruining my day. It's probably going to rain on the picnic. And we're like, come on, baby. Right? We're doing this. And the kids are loving it. They're loving the nonlinear expression of parenting. So we're fishing. And then the first time we did it, I thought, we can do better than this. So the second time I went back, we got a rock and put it on the line to create the bend. Right, in the pole. Actually, I want to take it a step further. That was number 2. The third time we went back to the intersection, something in me went, we can do better than a rock. Let's go to Ralph's, and we purchased whole-body catfish. Hey, hey, they're dead. They're already dead, and we're honoring them posthumously. So here we are playing, and then all of a sudden, all you're waiting for is that count on the street light. The red light's like 4, 3, 2. Here comes yellow, 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 and 1, and fish on! And you're literally doing it like this. And then when you pick it up out of the water, you got to sling it, otherwise they're going to know it's dead. You know, and you're doing it like this. And the people that are driving by are going, honey, honey. Not only is he fishing, he's catching shit. Okay, this is possible to you. We can cheer ourselves up and be alive. And no, I don't smoke weed. I never needed to. Okay. So that's under Have Ridiculous Fun. Because I'm going to close here in just a few minutes. Am I okay? Are we good? Got a few more? Okay. So under the heading of fun, I'm going to give you my top secret. I didn't say one of my top. This is the top. Okay? How many of you ever experienced stage fright, nervousness? Raise your hand now if you've experienced some measure of stage fright. Keep your hand up. Keep it up. Now, because I'm going to eventually get everybody in the room. Keep your hand up, please. Now, how many of you have ever been on an audition? Keep your hand up for the stage fright. Okay, and add to it. Anyone? Okay, now everybody should be up on the next two. Anyone here ever been on a job interview? Raise your hand if you've been on a job interview. Okay, are we at everybody yet? I believe that's everybody. Okay, and anyone else ever been on a date? Okay, we got everybody. We agree, we got everybody. Okay. So the question becomes, why is it that the finest version of that encounter, that job interview, for example, that audition, that meeting, that reading, whatever it is, how many of you have experienced the following scenario? Where the finest version of it was the one that happened in the car on the way home after the actual experience.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody relate to that?
Yeah.
When you're going through the mental condition of the woulda, coulda, shouldas. You can relate the woulda, coulda, shouldas, like, or the if onlys. They happen to live right next door to the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Right, the if onlys. If only I hadn't said that. If only I hadn't worn that. God, why did I use that? Why did I use that gum? Why did I talk so much about Ridley Scott? Whatever it is, and you're questioning yourself. And then what happens is you wind up being friggin' genius in the car, and you're so wishing that that version of you could have been the one that they saw, because surely they would have hired you. Well, 25 years ago, I designed a technology that helps you teleport, if you will, that version of you into the room. It's no joke. And here's how it showed up. I said to my wife, honey, I'm going to ABC today for a series regular role. She said, I know. This was pre-email. She said, I heard you talking about it yesterday. I said, it's going to be a big day because I'm going to book this thing. She said, yeah. And I said, but I had a peculiar whisper about 30 minutes ago and I'm going to honor it. She said, what was that? And I said, I need to go to ABC with my shoes full of syrup. You heard me. My shoes full of syrup. This is why I'm still married, was her reaction. She didn't judge me. She didn't say, Glenn, are you unwell? Instead, she went, honey, did you want log cabin or Aunt Jemima's? Just right over to help me out, and we filled my shoes in the kitchen. Filled. So much so that when I arrived at ABC, and by the way, my first 3 television series, I'm talking about as a series regular now, not a guest star. The first 3 series I ever did on television in a running capacity were all on that network. I've decided ABC. They all lasted less than a year. I've decided ABC is an acronym for already been canceled. But I went into the network and I arrived, unlike any other actor there, I arrived literally squishing down the hallway. And I could hear it. Perhaps more importantly, I could smell it. Here's the fun part. This is where the big fun wheel goes. So could they. When I walked into the room, guys, this is our team. It's Glenn Morshower, and here comes a waft. A waft. Now, I see you with your mouth wide open. But here's the deal. It's not an offensive odor. It's not like I cut a fart. I mean, you could actually make maple cologne. It's beautiful. But here's what they can't understand is why suddenly do they have a seemingly irrepressible urge to dine at the International House of Pancakes? But they're like looking at each other going, and I'm there loving it. And I'm remembering that it was Steve Martin that taught us it's impossible to be depressed while playing a banjo. Can't do it. Nobody takes a banjo and goes, oh, death and murder and taxes. Nobody does that. Very few banjo players get booked for funerals. It's a happy instrument. So I thought, if banjos equal happiness, oh my God, syrup in the shoes has got to be the deal. And it turns out it was. I had more fun than I'd ever have on a reading because I had this harmless secret. The only damage done that day was to the shoes themselves. And you know what? I didn't care. And the most important part of the story was not merely the freedom I felt, but I got a series regular role for the most money I'd ever been paid in my life while standing in syrup. So the next time I got an opportunity to go out and read, my next audition, I did it again and got hired. I'm not making up the following stats. The third time, I changed it up, did it again, but not with syrup. I put little baby marshmallows between each of my toes. Not the big ones, the little baby ones. You know why? Because it's liberating. You realize nobody knows what I know. And you've got this radiant grin. In Texas, we called it a shit-eating grin. And it's because you're just having fun. Anyway, at number 6, my agent called me and congratulated me and said, in all my years, he'd been an agent for 30 years, I've never had a client book 6 in a row. 6 submissions, 6 bookings. And I'd always had an elevated booking batting average, always. He said, are you doing anything different? I told him it's interesting, you should ask. I'm working with some new techniques. That's all I said. I'm not about to spill the secret. He said, Glenn, whatever you're doing, please start teaching this because this is phenomenal. I went on to book jobs 7, 8, and 9. And that record is still standing in that agency where I booked 9 in a row. And for the next 25 years, up until this very day, when I have a meeting, I'm not nervous about it. I don't worry. I'm relaxed. I have fun in those meetings. I do it just for pure pleasure. I still am always packing. Because at number 8, I decided if it works this well in my shoes, where else might I want to place food products? And for the next 25 years, I have had perhaps what could be described as the world's most unusual commitment to Oscar Mayer bologna in between my butt cheeks. For real. I have booked more work with actual Oscar Mayer. I'm going to look right at you because it seems to be alarming to you. I am a grown man. I am not merely posing as one. I have made over $1 million with bologna wedged right square between my butt cheeks. What's that? No mayo. No. I go commando. So my new motto is Oscar Mayer equals higher. Okay. And I encourage you to do this. Okay, I got to wrap up, guys. Even though I'm hoping you don't want me to, I still will. How about this? Have a steady diet of please and thank you. Do it a lot. And the next one's a big one for me, huge. Please start owning your friggin' behavior. Just own your behavior. And that doesn't mean own your bad behavior. It means own your behavior. All of it. Good, bad, the best versions of you, all of you. Quit passing the buck and playing the blame game. Yes, I did that, or at least a former version of me did, and I apologize, and I owe you one. Be A-okay with saying I'm sorry. Be A-okay with saying I blew it. No, I blew it big. I blew it. I'm sorry. I love you. I've got better available in me. That wasn't my best me. And I'm asking for your love and your forgiveness. Own your behavior. Way too many people in our world blame people. Well, it's because of, no, it's not. It's because you didn't do what you're capable of doing. That's why. Own it. Next one, and I'm almost at the end of this list. Increase your spontaneity. Live congruently. Don't pursue. Explain that. I asked a group of actors years ago to raise their hands. They were all actors. How many of you moved from somewhere else, or you were raised here, but are here in Los Angeles today pursuing an acting career? What percentage of the hands do you think went up? Now keep in mind, I was talking to actors only. What percentage? That would be correct, 100%. And I said, then may I just give you this one piece of technology which will be worth the price of admission. You know why I've had a great career? This is what I said to the actors. I had a great career because when I came from Texas, I didn't come here to pursue a career, I came to have it. Is right. They're not the same thing. Stop pursuing and start having. And you know how you have? By claiming. That's why when you drop off your coat in a hotel room that's for coach, they don't give you a pursuit check. They give you a claim check. Meaning when I'm back here, I will claim my coat. We claim our coats, we claim our love, we claim our power, we claim our relationships, we claim it. We don't wish, hope, or want. Those are weenie words. Wish, hope, want. Well, I wish you could. Well, sure hope I could. How about just claiming it? Because that's when things happen, is when we claim. Give up requiring that things be convenient. I had said that earlier in another little side share. How about give people the gift of being gotten? I think it's the greatest gift you can give any human being. Forget about love. Forget about that. That's great. But when you compare it with giving someone the gift of being gotten, like, doesn't it feel just great? Somebody speaks fluent you. That feels great. When someone speaks fluent usness, that's what I call it. Learn to speak fluent themness, I wrote. Stay away from relationships that require your subservience or violating your own principles. Stay away from those. That's your warning sign. There'll be a little dashboard light that goes off. You'll find it in your solar plexus. It will. So let me get this straight. In order to continue this relationship, and I'm going to look at all of you because I don't want to focus on one person. Hey, Caesar, you'll think that I'm choosing someone for a particular reason. So I'll look at each one of you. Let me get this straight. In order for us to have a relationship, I have to give up my principles? I just want to make sure we're clear on the rules. Yeah, so we're going to do it your way, right? And I'm going to ignore my value system. Okay, I'm clear. Let's don't do that. Let's know who we are and let's honor that and love that enough to dismiss all company that does not support that long term. And most of all, end the day the same way you started it. In gratitude and respect, the peace that we need in our lives in order to rest well. Because we're getting ready to go back into that subconscious realm. And here's what we don't want to do. We don't want to go back into our subconscious realm with our pulse all ramped up. We don't want to start screaming at people and then call it a night. We actually want to enter peacefully that place where we rest and restore. Rest and restore. You know, my program, The Extra Mile, is deeply devoted to two words, and those words are remembrance and restoration. So I didn't come in tonight when Bob invited me. I didn't come in here. I'm closing now, Bob. I didn't come in here to teach anybody anything. I came here to remind. I came here to remind you of things that you already know. You've long since known. And many of them you've just either forgotten about or you simply never made it a priority. One of the two. It wasn't that you don't know, because you do know. I think it's pretty impressive that we all got here as winners. So I'll close on this thought. We are winners. Not maybe, but definitely. We are winners by divine design. We don't have to read a book on winning. We don't have to learn techniques for winning. All we have to do is remember, because your life, my darling, and mine, and everybody here in this room, and everybody here in this city and state and country and world, and all the people that have already had their earth dance and graduated and moved to the land beyond, what we all have in common is that in order for this earth dance to start, it had to begin with us outswimming 600 million other competitors. 600 million. What a beautiful remembrance. Oh my God, am I a winner? Why would I allow myself to be intimidated by numbers like 50 to 1? When once upon a time I looked to my left and saw 300 million. Looked to my right, saw another 300 million and went, well, I guess it's time to be wiggling my butt. That's how we literally got here, by shaking our groove thing. Specifically, 18,000 times. They've calculated this. I didn't make the numbers up. 18,000 wiggles of yo tail to make the 8-inch trip up the fallopian tube. That's impressive. So 18,000 of your best moves is how you got here. So those of you who don't even think you have rhythm, that too is a lie. You don't have trust issues, and all of you got rhythm or you wouldn't be here. That's a fact. So I applaud your big swim. I applaud your personal big swim. I applaud yours and yours and yours stepping in. Josh, Zeb, all the way around the room. Everybody's big swim. And I'll say goodnight on this. For that swim, you were awarded a trophy. This is it. Welcome to Earth. Congratulations on your victory. We're going to walk you right over here to the winner's circle where we will acknowledge your victory with an award. We give out trophies here in this world, only we call them bodies. Here's the deal. You're going to get one to work with in this lifetime. There will be no reissue. Not in this lifetime. You can believe in whatever you want beyond, but right now, during this dance, you got one car to drive. You might want to take care of it. You might want to change its oil. Anyone in here ever put a hose, garden hose into your gas tank, turn on the water real quick? Show of hands. Anyone ever done that? I've been asking that for 25 years. So you know what this means? What this means is we have become a people who take better care of our frigging automobiles than we do this treasured trophy. This is a trophy. It is not a trash can. It's a trophy. And is to be loved and honored and embraced and revered. And most of all, we have stewardship here to honor and the stewardship of one another's souls. God bless every single one of you. And thank you collectively and Bob to you individually for having me here this evening. God bless you.